But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, faithful? Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK Live. As always, I'm your host, Paul Hope. And well, folks, sadly, our season has now come to an end. But as we always say, there is never a blank space when it comes to the 49ers. Isn't that right, Mr. Gowland?
That is definitely right. I thought you were going to lead in with some insult to me about dirty points and winning the Predictor League.
Our mate, first show of 2025. I'm not going to stoop that low already to mention dirty points and a trophy.
You're doing about 20 minutes into the show.
I thought you'd get the blank space reference, which Jasmine and Kaylee will be very pleased about. So I thought you'd get that. Yeah. Now, we recorded a podcast on Monday, Lee, and we alluded to some breaking news that might happen before the show.
Yeah.
We have got some breaking news to talk about, but I'm delighted to say that we've got a couple of great guests joining us on today's show. Now, before we bring on the guests, is it fair to say, Lee, a lot has happened since Monday? And we're only on Wednesday. Happened.
I mean, there's a couple of things that we were expecting, but there was one thing that we weren't expecting, so it's going to be good to talk about that.
Yeah, so buckle up, faithful. The off-season has fully begun. Now, whilst we will be discussing a topic we agreed on Monday, which is the Predictor League, because a certain someone is very giddy because this trophy will be en route to them, we do have some other bits of breaking news that we're going to talk about. But without further ado, Lee, let's bring on our guests. So first up is a returning guest, the man with the most thankless task in sports entertainment, and the host with the most, but he loves to be a guest on a Wednesday night. It is, of course, our good friend, the one and only Gareth Ellis.
Good evening. Thank you, Paul. Host with the most. I thought you were going to say the guest with the least.
Steady, Gareth. You like to come on the show on a Wednesday because you're not in the big chair.
It cause a bit of havoc.
A bit of havoc.
Plus, I felt I owed it to Lee that he can do his bit of dirty point gloating. So, we give him his moment in the to bask in the glory of victory.
Well, you're going to have to get used to it because it's going to be a 12 months worth of dirty point gloating.
Well, it's always great to have you on the live, Gareth, but joining us three fine gentlemen and making his first appearance on the 49er Faithful UK Live, our next guest joined the Facebook group back in March 2021. He has become an admin of our very own Discord channel and is the brains behind the Community Predictor League, which I think is fair to say has been a great success this year and added a new dynamic to both the podcast and the community. His work behind the scenes on Discord has been invaluable. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage our very own Kev Williams.
Evening, gents. How are you doing?
Evening, Kev.
Lots to talk about outside of the...
It's a pleasure to finally put a face to a name.
Yeah. Instead of just a San Francisco Giants hat drinking a beer icon across social media.
Well, I mean, I can talk. I mean, I'm a Funko. That's my picture.
Very true.
Yeah, but before we dive into all the breaking news, the significant changes the 49ers have made to the coaching staff, as this is your first appearance, Kev, we always like people to tell us first how you become a 49ers fan and how did you find this group of ours?
Yeah, so I've been a Niners fan since about 2012 or so. To cut a long story short, I used to have a season ticket at Bolton Wanderers. 2012, we got relegated. My daughter was born. I couldn't have a season ticket anymore, so I kind of checked out of football a little bit. One of my friends was working down in London quite a lot, and as he was travelling and staying up at night, he was like, I've started to watch the NFL a little bit, and I kind of had a go at him a little bit for it, and it got me interested then because I didn't have my sport on the Saturday anymore, and I had a young daughter. This like sport that was on a Sunday evening kind of fit into my schedule then, and I was like, right, well, seeing as I'm tuning in, I'm gonna choose a team to follow, just to put some interest in it, some sort of competitiveness in there. I just chose the team that won the Super Bowl in my year of birth, 1982, and turned out it was the Niners, and kind of stayed solid since then. Got myself a Kaepernick jersey and rolled on from there.
I like that. So your first jersey, the same as mine, a Kaepernick jersey. Yeah. So I do like that. And how did you discover our group? Because obviously Lee's the president, and everyone kind of has their own story of how they found the group and what it means to be part of this community.
Yeah, I randomly met somebody at do when the NFL used to do the talks where Neil Reynolds went around the country, there were some players, they did interviews, etc. There's a guy called Graham Ross at one. I'm still friends with him on Facebook, right. And he just caught my jersey. I was like, "Oh, you want to get involved?" And I was like, "All right, okay." I followed him on Facebook, but for some reason, then didn't join the group until it started to. For some reason, he just said, "Then Paul, 2021, I joined the group." Wanted somewhere that I could chat to fellow fans on game days, etc. And that's what got me started, really, that involvement in the game days.
Yeah, I went on your Facebook profile when I was doing my prep, and I thought, wow, March 2021. It's funny you say that, because I mean, obviously, I'm back in the office in Dalton yesterday, bumped into a chap wearing a Niners hat. Niners fan? And he actually was like, yeah. Bit weird. Never seen anyone else in a Niners fan. And he just basically relocated to Dalton from Scotland, and straight away, as you said there, gave him a business card, talked about the group. So hopefully he will be joining the group. I think he joined today, and I think he's already ordered a flag. I think you added his membership request, Lee, and he's already sent me a message to say he's ordered the flag. So it's just amazing to hear how people find this group, because you used to hand business cards out, didn't you, Lee, at the International Series games?
I did, yeah. So it wasn't just me. There was a few of us who used to hand business cards out. I think over the years we've handed out somewhere in the region of 3,000 business cards. It was a case of going down to the International Series game, which I did every single game up until 2019. And rather than get myself drunk in the tailgates and eat copious amounts of food, I just wandered around. Anybody with a 49ers hat or jersey on, I would just hand out a card. And that's how we kind of grew the community. Got people interested.
Yeah. So, as I said at the start of the show, we will be chatting all things Predictor League. But given the fact that we have fired both our special teams and defensive coordinators since we recorded the pod, and actually there's been some more news since I prepared these notes, I'm going to hand over to Gareth Ellis, because he normally hosts on a Monday, Kev, and he has to wait until me and Nadji take a breath. So, Gareth, where do you want to start, buddy?
Well, the OC news, I think, is the one that's come out of the blue a little bit. Obviously, we talked about it a few shows ago, and have mentioned it more than once this season, that we feel that the team's performances and perhaps preparation have suffered from Kyle wanting to do too much. And we've been wanting him to hand over some of that responsibility so that he can step back and head coach the way the coaching model in the NFL for the vast majority of teams, the tried and tested model of the head coach stepping back and having that oversight, that overview, and letting a coordinator shine, letting a defensive coordinator shine. And lo and behold, he's there. Kubiak has been given the offensive coordinator job for the first time since Shanahan's been at the Niners. Lee, I know you're going to be excited at this. From everything we've said, we've all got to be saying this is a good thing. We know he called the Cardinals game, and we looked really good against the Cardinals. I know it was a bit of a funny sort of dead rubber game, but we got a lot of yardage, and we played well early. And I mean, it's a shame Guendo went down, but it was certainly Patrick Taylor's best game. We ran the ball well. We passed generally quite well. So great news. Things are looking up. Lee, what can you say?
Yeah, I mean, it is great news. As far as being the first OC, I think you're right. Technically, he is the first one to be called OC. Obviously, Mike McDaniel, he basically called all the players throughout a full season, but for some reason didn't get the OC moniker. So yeah, it's about time that we've had this, and we've been asking for this for the last 2 seasons now. It takes that pressure off Kyle, and this is what we're talking about on Monday. You have to go through the self-growth. You have to be critical of yourself and find out, well, what am I not doing right? What can I do better? and he's obviously recognised it himself. Either that, obviously, he listened to our show, and he knows that what we say is correct. So it must be that, obviously. Yeah, it's exciting times. Like you said, we did play well against the Cardinals as far as moving the ball is concerned. We have done that all season, mind you. It's always been the red zone that we struggle at this season. But yeah, I think this is a great move. It's the one I didn't expect from today's press conference. Obviously, the other two, we were expecting those. It's more like 1.5 that we expected because of what's happened with Sorensen. But yeah, the fact that Kubiak's now OC, I'm over the moon with that.
Well,
we're going in the right direction.
Gareth normally lets us have 3 talking points on the pod, Kev, and he only let us have 2. And the third talking point was going to be Kubiak calling the players, because Lee's been very vocal about this. And I did think, is this a sign of something to come? Is it something you're excited to see, Kev, that Shanahan's going to kind of step in that head coach role a little bit more and have Kubiak as the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, definitely. I was discussing it in Discord the other day with Gary, actually, a bit of back and forth, where I just think, although he doesn't have many weak points, I think Kyle's biggest weak point is that he gets in his own way sometimes, and it's that he's trying to do too much. He's amazing at drawing up schemes. He is a good play caller, but then he just gets stuck in his own head slightly and either decides never to deviate away from his plan or doesn't look elsewhere other than himself. Having somebody there who can have that title and have more ownership over that gives him, I think, a bit more freedom to think about the game more than just the play calling in that moment. So yeah, definitely looking forward to a change. How much of a change it will be, I'm not sure. It could just be a title. He's been there anyway, so it's like maybe Shanahan can, keep him on a leash a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Hopefully, it does hand over the reins slightly more to Kubiak, and yeah, we can manage those, especially fourth quarters, a lot better than we have been doing.
I must admit, one thing that I haven't missed is this. We've gone live. We're all checking our phones. The Discord chat is on fire.
Yeah.
The notes I made at 1:30 this afternoon on my lunch break are out the window. So, some other bits of breaking news I'm going to throw at you. Apparently, the Niners plan to do a post-June the 1st release of Hargrave, but there's interest in bringing him back. Connor Ryan is very excited that me and Nadji called it on the show on Monday, but John Lynch has confirmed that Deebo Samuel will return in 2025. So for those people who've tuned in expecting to talk defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, hold your horses, people, because we've got some other bits of news. Gareth, surprised to see Hargrave being designated as a post-release in June, or was it something we expected with the restructure?
I think so. When the restructure came out, I think everybody could see the writing on the wall for that. He has been a little bit underwhelming. I know he's had one season and one injury in curtailed season, but I think even last year he didn't deliver the impact we expected for the level of signing and the level of money that we spent. He was good, but we were paying him money to be great, and we were paying him money to be a game wrecker. And he was solid. He wasn't that much better than a guy like DJ Jones that we'd had a few years ago, who was consistently good without being that game wrecker. So that's a bit of a surprise. I do wonder, they're basically saying we're not cutting Deebo, but I'm pretty sure if someone gets on the phone and asks about his availability, team always say that they'll answer that, and I think that is more of a possibility. But we will see. Yeah, I can agree with the sentiment there. Offensive coordinator, I think it's good, and I think we were right. Lee, I've got to give you this one as well. You said the offensive coordinator should be fired, and in effect, he kind of has been, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. He's obviously realised that he hasn't been doing a good enough job. And I think he said it in the press conference that they've become too predictable, and they need to shake things up, which is why he's brought Kubiak in. And it's great. It's a great move. I think it's going to benefit us to the end next season. We're already looking forward to next season. Obviously, we've got a long way to go and a lot of things happen in between there. And just one thing on Sorensen, though. Everybody's now saying Sorensen's a special team coordinator. He's not. He's under consideration. He's one of several people under consideration. So at the moment, he has lost DC duties, but he hasn't been fired. So he's still on the payroll. And one of the positions they're potentially looking at filling with Sorensen is special teams coach. However, they are also looking externally as well. So that's not a guarantee, that one.
Yeah, there's some other bits there, like Connor's messaged me there, and he's quoted there, giving Staley a shot as well at DC, and obviously Paul's mentioned Sorensen. I think what's coming out now is, they're looking, Kev, exciting time to be a Niner. I mean, this squad, if you thought it was going to quieten down as an admin, it ain't quieting down. It's not quieting down.
Getting busier. Yeah. And obviously a lot happening today. Like you, Paul, I did a lot of prep today. I was like, I'm going to, first show, I'm going to have to do some prep. Did a load of research about all the defensive side of the ball, special teams, nothing about anything else that's being said. So, yeah, it's full on. A lot of people chatting away about it. I think one thing about Sorensen that's interesting as well, as I was doing a little bit of a dig, he was a special teams coordinator previously at Jacksonville Jaguars, and he replaced none other than Schneider. So it's let's hope he doesn't follow in his footsteps.
That speaks volumes. That.
Yeah. So maybe we look elsewhere.
Well, we did say on Monday night it can't get any worse, but maybe they are famous last words, because maybe it can.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when Sorensen started with the 49ers, because I think Sorensen and Schneider maybe started at the same time back in 2021. Because I'm now thinking, why didn't Sorensen just turn around to Kyle and say, hey, Schneider's a load of rubbish. I'll replace him at the Jags. Don't go down that way.
Yeah. But Sorensen did join in a year later. Yeah, so 2021 for Schneider, 2022 for Sorensen. Whether there was any influence there from Schneider or not, I'm not sure. But you'd have thought he'd have maybe mentioned that.
So Trent Williams is on board for the 2025 season.
Yeah.
I did want to say, chaps, I didn't particularly want to talk Brock Purdy tonight because we do have a lot to unpick, and it is technically the first show on the live of the off season. But if you wanted to go down that rabbit hole, defensive coordinator, to bring it back to your point, Kev, similar to you, I did a little bit of research. The names that seem to be standing out: Robert Saleh, Ulbrich, Gus Bradley, and Lou. I can't pronounce his surname from the Bengals. Lee's smirking there. But they're the ones that, dependent on your content creator, are the names. I mean, I know Chapman went live 4 p.m. today, and he said he wants Ulbrich, Saleh, then Bradley in that order. So I wanted to ask that question to you three. So you've answered yes, Lee. What do you reckon, Kev? Would you be happy with those in that order? Or have you got a different preference?
I think any Niner fan would just absolutely love Saleh back, wouldn't they? I mean, that is the dream scenario. Whether or not he'll do it, I'm a bit dubious about whether he would. I think he'd look at maybe other opportunities. I think we benefit from him just from his knowledge of the team, and that seems to be what delivers us success throughout the last few years. Saleh and Ryans were with us for a long time before we got that success, so being able to slot him back into that would be good. But then I think it is good to get fresh perspective on things. Although the last time that happened with Wilkes, it maybe people said it didn't go too well, but a lot better than it was this season. So it'll be interesting to see where that comes in. Ulbrich would be interesting. I think that probably is my preference. Like I said, I can't see it working with Saleh as much as I want it to.
Yeah, I said to Kev, Gareth off air when we were waiting in the back room that I'd seen the news that they're going to offer it to Saleh, but let him explore other head coaching gigs. And you kind of worry as a Niners fan if that's the case, and then they're going to let him go on all these interviews and then say he doesn't get another head coach job, but it takes 2-3 weeks down the line, and then you lose out some of your other candidates. And similar to, I've just got this nagging feeling in my stomach that he wants to be a head coach. Love to have him back. I'm seeing all the tweets, I'm seeing all the posts on social media. But I don't know, Lee. I'm just not sure whether Saleh wants to come back and be a coordinator just yet.
So I think him and Carl's already had the conversation. I think the offer's been made, and the way they've left it is, I've got 2 interviews lined up for head coaching roles. If I get neither of those, I would gladly come back and do DC for you. I think that's how it's been left. Because I'd be very surprised if they haven't had that conversation already. Because there was nothing stopping them having the conversation. Because technically, Saleh wasn't employed as a defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. He was an advisor only, which means you can approach those roles and speak about potential higher elevated roles. So I would think they've already had that conversation. They know where it's going. He's interviewing with not the Cardinals, the Jags next Tuesday, and I think the other one might be the Titans on the Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday.
Thought they've just sacked
Is it the
their
Titans? No, it's not
general
Titans.
manager, isn't it? Titans would have been a link with Carthon,
Who
but
am I
they've
thinking
sacked
of?
him, haven't they?
Who,
the Bears?
Pearce. Who was Peace there? Raiders.
Oh,
Raiders, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't go there. Don't go there, Salah. I know you're watching, son. Don't go to the Raiders. Gareth, so what Lee's telling us is the defensive coordinator is going to be sorted. Special teams coordinator is already in-house. Purdy's signing his new contract. Going to be nothing to talk about next Monday, Gareth. It's all done.
They won't. It's good. I mean, I'd love to see Salah back. I do think that might be seen as a bit of a step back, given that he's been the coordinator for us, then head coach for one team, then goes back to his old team. I think if he was going to do a DC, why not go and work for a highly experienced head coach and go in DC, I don't know, Washington or any number of other places, because any opening he's going to be considered. I always thought it was a mistake that he went to the Jets, because everyone knows that that's a dumpster fire. It's not the place for a first-time head coach. It depends how much trauma he's carrying from that experience. I mean, he's a big, strong lad. I'm sure it's not going to be too bad, but you get the feeling sometimes that the coaches, after a grueling head coaching job, might quite like the perhaps the step back from a coordinator and go and sort of focus perhaps more on the game and not have to worry about particularly the song and dance of certain Hall of Fame aged quarterbacks who he's had to deal with for the last couple of years. And hopefully he'll be selective about which team he goes for, because I'm not sure. I mean, the Raiders are intriguing. Ownership is obviously issue, but obviously there's Brady involved now, and whether that's a good or a bad thing. I think the Jags, everyone's saying, if you're going to have to work with Bulky, the Jags is a bit of a poison chalice, and they've paid a lot of money to a very mediocre, I think, quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and they don't have a lot of talent elsewhere. I think the Titans don't know what they're doing. I think the Patriots are probably going to go for Vrabel. So I don't know if there's a particularly attractive head coaching offer. Maybe the Bears, but again, they cycle through head coaches, quicker than most other teams. So maybe he will come back. I don't think going to see that would be a bad thing if he came back and thought, let's have another season, let's have another crack at it. Maybe he's thinking there's unfinished business with Kyle. So
yeah, I mean, the good news is none of you fine gentlemen have come on tonight's show and said Brandon Staley or the other in-house candidate.
I don't know what
Daniel
he does.
Bullocks, because they're the two names. When we were preparing and there was a press conference lined up, I thought, is the Thunder going to be stalling Lee? And we're going to go live at 8:15 and be like, yeah, Brandon Staley or Daniel Bullocks is being promoted from within. Done. And I thought, I'm not sure if I'm ready for the social media meltdown. So I'm kind of glad that the news broke, that they've pretty much offered it to Salah, like you said. But surely Staley can't be given it, can he not, Lee? Surely not.
Well, he's under consideration, but I think they'll look for somebody external first. And I'm classing Salah as external because obviously he's not in the organisation at the moment. And my top three would be Ulbrich, Salah, and believe it or not, Eberflus.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Eberflus would be third on my list. And I think those three need to be considered before we go to Brandon Staley, because Brandon Staley was in the building for the last 12 months. And if he's there as the head coach and assistant, he should have been assistant Sorensen, and obviously he hasn't because we've been so poor in the fourth quarter. We can't go back to that. We need to clean house there and actually come with somebody who we already know can do the job, Salah, or somebody who can come in with their own ideas and who we are confident can do a better job and at least tighten up our fourth quarter points deficit, because that killed us. Yeah. That absolutely killed us this season.
I mean, to be fair, Gareth, I like to sprinkle a few stats in before I go back to Kev.
Do you?
The reason Sorensen's out, we finished 29th in score and defence. We allowed an average 25.6 points per game. We were 20th in defensive efficiency, 26th in QBR allowed, 18th in rushing yards allowed, tied for 20th in takeaways, which we were quite proud on this show of us being at the top for the takeaways. And after the week 9 bye, we only forced 2 turnovers in our final 9 games. And we allowed 116 points in 3 losses to close the season and allow Gowland his dirty points and to snatch this trophy. So I know which stat
That's a
angers
second
me the
offence.
most. So if you're wondering what the theme is, Kev, as many digs as you can get in El Presidente, because he did say he's going to gloat for a year. Now, I didn't do that, Kev. Very few people saw this trophy, right? But officially, until it's handed over, I am still the champion. So I don't know, Gareth. Maybe I keep the trophy a little bit longer, but he's threatened to gloat his way through the next 12 months. Now, if this trophy had a mishap, Kev, I don't know whether that'd be a good thing or a bad thing, but this could be your opportunity to talk about Anthony Folger. Because didn't he blow Gowland out the water? I mean,
He did.
you're the Discord
mile-
man.
He
mile
blew
out of the
everyone out the
water.
water. Yeah.
Everybody out of the water from week 3 as well. He decided, this is mine. I'm going to run with it and take it away from all of you. Yeah, it was light years ahead of us all.
It would be interesting to know who scored the most points from dirty points.
Dirty points.
You're setting him a challenge. So the good thing with Discord
Yeah.
is whenever we ask for something, Kev, on the podcast, Discord works his magic and it happens. I mean, we had the infamous GIF with He Who Shall Not Be Named. You know, we've had other GIFs about
Ooh.
Lee. But
I haven't thought about him for weeks.
yeah.
Don't
Well,
mention it.
what's worse, Gareth? He Who Shall Not Be Named or Gowland again? I'm joking. But
So technically, he who shall not be named is still a member of the 49ers.
I know. It just made me think. Then, he hasn't
Yeah.
been.
What I hope they do is they leave it until 1 hour before the start of the Super Bowl and then they release him.
I suppose could look at that way. Is there anything else you want to say, Kev, before we move on about the defensive coordinator position? Because obviously you're the new guest to the show, so we're keen to hear your thoughts. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think that obviously, Paul, you read all of those horrible stats out there, but you don't need stats just to see with your eyes how horrible a lot of our defensive play was this year. And I think, I'm a big fan of Fred up here. Even Fred, I'm not sure how he got the votes for the Pro Bowl, etc. Probably just off his name. I think that even when he's playing to the level that he did this season, it just kind of shows where that defense was at this year. And it was just nowhere where it needed to be, nowhere close to where it needed to be. I had a little dig. Again, it's not the most yardage, but we conceded the most penalties this year as well since 2018. And they always seem to be at the worst moments possible. They killed us, and probably on offense as well. To be fair, it was both sides of the ball that was happening. So yeah, I think, like we were saying then, promoting within, I would not like to see that. To be honest, I feel like it just needs starting from afresh, just like the special teams. Even worse.
Now, you mentioned the eye test there. I mean, the good thing is we said in our season preview, chaps, we just needed the defense to be top 10. If we'd had a top 10 defense this year, things might have been a bit easier. And I think you read a stat, Kev, about the offensive side of the ball, wasn't it? Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk were never on the field at the same time this year. Adding to the misfiring defense, and obviously to talk about Purdy and the Avengers. But yeah, I think it's safe to say the defense wasn't pretty this year. Chapman said it better than any of us. We conceded points in every game in the fourth quarter this season. That's horrific. I mean, we did better than that last year, didn't we, Lee, with your favourite coordinator, Steve Wilkes, in coordinator position?
Yeah, I mean, we did remarkably better than that. It was very rare that anybody actually scored any points on us in the fourth quarter. We shut teams out. I think it was 11 times we shut teams out. Whereas this year, we've just gone the complete opposite direction and said, hey, come and score whatever you point in the fourth quarter. Don't worry how many points we put up on you. We'll just give you them all back in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it's a huge difference. And, yeah, I mean, going from Steve Wilkes, which I was never a fan of Steve Wilkes, but it was a hell of a lot better defense than this year.
He did have Greenlaw for a whole season. He did have Hargrave for a whole season. So I think that's got to be a factor. I think a lot of that defense
kind of had a run defense.
Yeah. We faded a lot after the bye, I think, on both sides of the ball. And I still think we talked about it over and over on the show. I think most of our problems were our inability of our offense to score points, and it puts the defense under pressure. When your offense is going 3 and out and your defense has to trudge on the field again, they're going to end up shipping points. And I think towards the back end of the season, obviously, I think some of the motivation was difficult. Obviously, we know about Mooney Ward's struggles, impact, I think, of the injuries around. I still don't think it was in Sorensen didn't do a good enough job. I think that's clear. But I also don't think all of the struggles were entirely down to just bad play calling. I think there was a poor offense, so we weren't playing the complementary football. We weren't giving the defense something to defend. We weren't giving the defense breaks late in the game, and we were battered with some of those key injuries. So
you mentioned Greenlaw there, Gareth. It's I think what was quite stark this season is realizing how much of an impact he does have on the team, and especially Fred as well. Yeah, when him and Fred are next to each other, it's a different team. And for him to be injured, I think it really did show how much we missed him and how important he is to the team. Obviously, a lot of speculation at the moment with social media posts from wives, etc., and whether he's coming or staying, or whether he's moving house or not, we don't know. So it'd be interesting to see what happens and develops there. But without him going forward, that's again a gap we'd need to fill if it came to it. But yeah, it was a massive miss.
Well, I'm glad you've mentioned Greenlaw, because that's what I was going to delay Lee Glorton a little bit longer. So Carl Shanahan has said that the 49ers haven't told Greenlaw he isn't coming back. Now, 49ers, players, family members, social media, Kev, things we all love to see. We saw the Deebo Samuel contract saga played out. We saw Brandon Ayuk. I think the fear for Niners fans is Greenlaw and Purdy. We kind of see these contract negotiations drag out. Now, the post itself from Greenlaw's partner, wife, significant other, I didn't think was that particularly bad. Fred Warner's wife's obviously made a comment. Fair to say he was always going to test free agency. I think the worry is the Titans and the Commanders might put a package together for him. They have more cap space. But Gareth, I know you love social media, buddy. Are you plugged in? Are you ready to see the posts going live from players, wives, cousins, significant others?
No, I didn't see what the post was. Was it about moving house? But on the other hand, she knows he's getting paid by somebody this off-season, which probably means a house move. Maybe that just means to the a nicer area around in Northern California. We can hope. I think it's tough. It's a tough decision for Greenlaw. I think he's like playing with Fred. I think they know they probably will play their best football when they play together. But also he knows he can go and be the Fred Warner at 31 other franchises in the league, and may want to be his own guy rather than perhaps the guy who supported Fred. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but I think because Fred was established first, there's always potentially that little bit of it. I don't think we feel like that, but maybe people on the outside may see it and in that way. So I think he's got a big decision. I hope we can make him money. I hope we can say to him, go and test free agency, and then if you find something you're interested in, come and tell us what that number is, and we'll see if we can make that work. I don't know where he's from, whether, if there's family on the East Coast, whether moving back to Washington or what have you is going to be attractive. I think we know Mooney Ward is going for a variety of reasons, but one of them is to be closer to home, and no one's going to argue with that decision on his behalf. So it's going to be one of those talking points, and I just hope it's done quickly. It's the same with Brock. I think Brock's made all the right noises. I think Greenlaw, he's got the world at his feet. He can make a choice there, and it's going to be up to him. But hopefully, that is one thing where you wonder, if we got Salah, maybe that's where Greenlaw might think, well, give me another 2 years here. I can probably pay me another 2 years here, and I can still go and potentially get a bigger contract for another 3 years somewhere else, and might fancy having another crack at it with Fred and Salah.
You mentioned Mooney Ward quickly. Well, I was going to come to you, Lee, anyway. I mean, I saw that interview Mooney Ward gave. I had no problems with what he said about the PTSD, the family reasons. I mean, we talked, Lee, that Mooney might have been an expensive free agent for us anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't say I liked his interview. I liked his honesty and his openness. And as a British perspective on American football, we don't often get that from the sports stars on this side of the pond. So the fact he was stood in the locker room, he seemed quite emotional. I liked that he was honest. And personally, if he doesn't come back to the Niners, I have no problem with the reasons he gave. So I was going to ask you about that, Lee, before we move to another topic.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, and it'll be sad to see him go, but he's not going to be as big a miss as what Greenlaw would be, because we've now got Ronaldo Green, and Demo's playing at an all-pro level, even though he didn't make the Pro Bowl, which we know what the Pro Bowl is like. So I don't think he's going to be that much of a miss. And if I'm being truthful, I think I said it 2-3 weeks ago, I actually preferred Green to be playing there, because Mooney Ward hasn't had that good a season anywhere. From the start of the season, he just hadn't looked like himself. So I don't think there's going to be a drop-off at all. In fact, I don't think there's going to be a drop-off. I think cornerback play is probably going to be improved by having Green there, if I'm honest. I know it's terrible to say that after what's happened to Mooney Ward this season. I wish him all the best, and I hope he goes and gets a big contract somewhere else. As far as Greenlaw's concerned, both Kyle and John addressed the rumours, the social media post in the actual interview, and he said nothing's sorted yet. They haven't spoken to Greenlaw yet. It's still too early. They've been basically seeing the coaches off, talking to them, and then doing exit interviews with players that they know are definitely not coming back. And Greenlaw is not one of those players they've had that conversation with. So it's still open there. We could still potentially do this. It all comes down to basically what number we give Brock, whether or not it's workable to bring Greenlaw back for 1 to 2 seasons. You have to remember, we are carrying quite a huge amount of cap space over.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why we did all that restructuring and then never spent that money, because we wanted to carry that over into next year to help us with Brock and to help us with anybody else that needed to be renewed. I think Kittle's coming up for
I was about to say, Kittle's another
next season.
8 years in the league. Kittle, can't believe that.
Yeah.
It's gone
So
fast.
I wouldn't be surprised if something comes off this off-season with Kittle, because
So-
I think they've learned the lesson now
Yeah.
about leaving it to the last minute to get contracts done. And even Brock alluded to that. I want this done as soon as possible because I want to participate in every single off-season program.
Is that when
So
he
he
dropped
wants it
there,
doing
show
tomorrow.
me the money gift? But I smirked, Kev, before I come to you. Carl Shanahan and social media is like Gareth Ellis and social media. So I'm sure Kyle loved being asked about a player's wife's social media post. But Kev, what's your thoughts on what we've said in the last few minutes? Add your 2 piece before we go to the Predictor League.
Yeah, like I said, I think that getting Greenlaw would be big. I couldn't agree more with what Lee said about Mooney Ward. He's had a drop off this season for understandable reasons. I think with his openness and honesty, it's great to hear that. It's great to see that. I think he was one of the players who also spoke against, he who shall not be named, one of the first who was quite open with him as well. So it's good to hear that. And if that's going to make him suffer and make the team suffer, I think it's best if he moves on. And I'm pretty confident in that backfield that we've got at the moment. We just need somebody to sort them all out, and we'll be golden. So yeah, and I think we should look to, especially of anything that's happened this season. I think Kittle has been one of the highlights, as well as Pearsall over there. We've got to get Kittle signed up. I'd love for us to do that. I'd love for us to get Brock, Kittle, and start as we mean to go on and get that done early. I think we have really suffered. I know that it's maybe paid off in the longer term for us to leave those contracts to the last minute. You could even argue against Bosa, actually. You know, he didn't come back straight away on fire. I think that whole pre-season being a team and being gelled is so important that we should really look to get them done as early as possible.
Do you not think with Brock, it's a different scenario because there's only 32 quarterbacks and they're not all great?
Yeah,
where I'm not saying Bosa or Debo or Ayuk, but they're not going to be able to play this cat and mouse game of kind of waiting. Like you said, Brock's come out and made all the right noises. I've seen a few people, Gareth, say we should play Brock on the final year. That isn't happening. Brock's been cheap for the last couple of years. Brock wants his money. Now, I've seen a lot of discussion in our group, on the Facebook group. I love to see that, Gareth. But when it comes to the money, it's not my money. I don't care how much they're going to pay him. So I don't know why some people kind of get hung up on the money at the end of the day.
I think it's because you know that there's only a finite money to go round with the cap, and I think that's the important. We all want to see the team win, and I think we are all aware if you start to sink too much money into too few players, you are highly reliant on them being fit all season and being at the top of their game all season. And that's one thing we've struggled because players who contribute a lot of that cap haven't either been on form or haven't been available, and that can always happen. And I think the quarterback is just that weird position where it's just the next person in line for contract gets more money than the last one that was signed, and everyone seems to go along with it. And it seems to me to be absurd because you end up with certain guys getting paid a lot more than they're probably worth, and it's difficult even for the most kind of humble player, perhaps shall we say that, to immediately say, well, hang on, why am I turning down another 15 million a year? And particularly, like, all players know that they're one snap away from their careers being over. It's dramatic, but that's the truth of it.
That's what
So
I mean.
why not hold out and get paid?
I have no problem with players getting paid, but before we disappear down a rabbit hole, Lee, the advert hasn't been sorted, but we have reached that time in the show where we do need to tell everybody about our awesome partners. Power Brand Systems empowers creators and businesses to build their brand, attract an audience, and grow through effective systems and software solutions. Now, chaps, we've made this man wait 42 minutes for his moment of glory, but we do have to talk about the Prediction League. Gareth, on the pod last year, you introduced the Awesome Foursomes Prediction League competition, which saw yours truly crowned the inaugural champion. That's right. I was number one.
On Super Bowl night.
Now, on Monday,
within minutes of
minutes, yeah. Najee thrust the trophy in my face after we've just lost the Super Bowl, and I had to pause for a photo.
We want to go.
I might have to recreate my winning photo because on Monday's show, Kev, Lee was holding up a rather nice championship ring that he had on his finger, and I thought, I know Gowland. I know he's got something planned. But also, Gareth, I was the only one of the Awesome Foursome to get a 100% correct score last year.
You were.
With a 31-13 win. But I can't remember the game. Can you remember that game, Lee?
Stole my scoreline.
What game was that?
That was the game against Seattle, in Seattle, on Thanksgiving.
It was. Now, this season, we introduced the Predictor League to the UK faithful. And as I said at the start of the show, it added a new dynamic to the pod and the community. Now, Kev, you were the brains behind the spreadsheet. And we just wanted to say thank you and hand over to you, because at this point, your work hasn't gone unnoticed. That spreadsheet was a thing of beauty. The chart you did, where it moved the numbers across, was epic. We didn't know how to do that on our own for the four of us, which would have been,
I can't take credit. I put data into a website and it did it for me. Made it look nice.
That's all anyone does these days, isn't it? It's still
very true. Very true.
The creative genius is still there. It couldn't have happened by itself.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work goes into the Predictor League. I mean, obviously, the Awesome Foursome, there's just the four of us, but you've had to keep the spreadsheet updated. Obviously, it's added a dynamic in the game day thread. I'm guessing you're happy with how the Predictor League went?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it has been a massive addition just to have that little bit of friendly competition. And if anything, it's made a miserable season bearable, especially for some people, Lee, there. Paul, with your 15 points, you're still so far behind. What's gone on there? What has gone on there?
Well, my fortune is linked to the team, Kev, and I was not in for a penny, in for a pound, as they say in the north, and there was no way I was succumbing to dirty points. Unlike some people, Gareth, isn't that right, buddy?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've got an idea about that. I've got an idea to make dirty points attractive.
Oh.
So next season, I think next season we all think we're probably just going to have our bounce back season. We're going to be back to normal. Hopefully something like a 14-3, 15-2 season is on the horizon. But what I'm thinking is, for every consecutive game we win, you add a point to a dirty points win. Yeah? So if we win the first 5 games and somebody goes for dirty points on game 6, instead of getting 5 points, they're going to get 10 points.
He's already nervous, Kev. He's already nervous because he knows. He knows.
For the consecutive wins.
Me and Gareth just turned up for the pod and we go, Niners winning, we give a score. Lee is thinking it to that degree. Now, to be fair, I did get 6 results right this year, Kev, so I'm quite happy with that. But I believe when we were talking in the Discord, because it was neck and neck last year between the 4 of us because of the way the season went, I can't quite remember where the idea came around for the community competition.
I think, thinking back, we actually did it in the post-season last year, I believe. And it was a bit of an idea of Nadji's. I think Mark Walsh was involved as well. He was doing it in Microsoft Teams or something to capture the submissions. Definitely making up his... Just have your own spreadsheet next year, Lee. Make it easy, mate. And then, I think that obviously Nadji does a lot for this community anyway. So I kind of put myself out there, volunteered and said, look, let me take this on. I'll sort this out, and just kind of changed it all to be the Google Sheets in the same format that Mark had done it previously with Microsoft, or just kind of plugged into the Google Sheets with that as well. So I'm involved in tech. So I was like, just let me do it for you. It's relatively easy, and it definitely gave a bit of competitive edge. We saw how people enjoyed it in that post-season last year, and we figured, let's roll that through to the year, because it just kind of creates that nice community feel as well. People love the banter in Discord about it on the game days and the prediction league, and it does add something to it. Definitely does.
The only technical issue, Wayne, sorry, buddy, you did have a couple of people get the names wrong and it didn't translate across. Now, Paul asked a question, which Lee starred. So Paul Scrimshaw wants to know, did we do an average points per game? Because a few people may have missed games. I don't think we did. If you missed that game, you just scored 0 points.
Yeah, you just scored 0. Yeah. I could look at like plotting out some other marks based on how you predicted, like divided by the amount of games that you predicted, maybe something similar to that. Obviously, the idea is that you get involved every week. My best advice, people have asked in Facebook. I know it's mentioned it's a Discord thing, but I do put it in Facebook every week. The best thing to do is probably join Discord if you want to be involved, because you'll get the notifications a lot easier. You'll see it, you'll chat about it. That's where it comes in. That's the best way to get it. But I do share it elsewhere on Facebook. I can look at seeing, there's a few bits I want to do with the data, see what the average guesses were, how many people guessed 49ers wins against not, call out some of those dirty pointers. I can't complain. I finished second overall, and I can smile through gritted teeth as you're having
I'll
a go
just check
Lee.
my notepads. No. I mean, on that point, Kev, dirty points. I think the 4 of us get together every week, so we have a bit of banter and we kind of know how to push each other's buttons. Gowland more than most. But in the Discord chat last few weeks, I've seen a few people defending the dirty points. When your camera was off, I knew you were doing something. But it's all good fun. I mean,
It's all in good.
the reason
You've only won one season, Lee.
I know, I mean, he hasn't even got the real trophy yet. I don't know whether I'm going to hand it over to him yet, Kev. But I mean, we did it, Gareth, because we used to predict a score anywhere, and I don't think there was much thought behind the early days of us predicting the score, and I don't think even recorded it, did we? So I think that's why you brought it in, wasn't it, Gareth?
It was always on the pod, but we didn't write it down. And I think that's where it came with, where we should note this down and see how many times people have got the right prediction, and that's where I think the idea of score, if you were close, because it is so incredibly difficult to get the exact score because of obviously the way the scoring system works. So within 3, it's kind of felt, well, you've got to get something for that. Otherwise, it's all just going to be on win-loss, and we'll all end up with the same score. So it's been a bit of fun, and it's been great to see so many engaged. I think how many people actually took part? 40, 50?
Yeah, there was the total number was 44 in total. Names submitted it at some point throughout the season, like you mentioned there, Paul. Some people dropped off, forgot a few weeks, and figured I'm too late now. But I think it's important to say that if you do go the right way, even if you miss one week, if you go the right way, you can get 15 points, just jump up all of a sudden. So you can catch those points up if you just miss 1 week. If you predict better, as you say in the pod, just predict better.
There's going to be a T-shirt with that.
Yeah.
Gowland's going to have it all.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, too right.
I mean, to be fair, Kev, in the Awesome Foursome group chat, I found a photo of a gentleman celebrating a fantasy football win. He had a crown, he had a belt, he had everything. And I dropped it in the group chat as a bit of a joke. And off air on Monday, Lee was like, "Yeah, you spoilt my fun, Paul." He pretty much was going to do that. So I will share that photo after
That's
everyone.
exactly
so
what
you can see.
Yeah.
Now, I'm expecting Andrea to send me a message and say, "Lee's put this horrific banner up in our front room, Paul. What does this banner mean?" Because you're going to gloat, Lee. All jokes aside.
It's not the front room, mate. It's hanging by the side of the house. It's that large.
I'm
Grand champion.
I'm lost for words, yeah.
Is that to match the one that's just been unfurled at Levi's?
It is, yes. It is.
It goes with all of the division and the Super Bowl years, and then there's Lee's at the end.
I'm waiting for it to come across the bottom of the screen, Lee, like on Monday. So when we were finishing off the pod on Monday, Kev, Gowland went quiet, disappeared, and then across the bottom of the screen, Grand Champion was going across the bottom. So, but Lee, congratulations. As I said, I will not be at the Super Bowl meetup in Liverpool. So there is plans for me to drive up to Lee's house. We will record a video, some photographs. I will hand Lee his trophy. I will say, Lee, when I shared the photos after last year's devastating Super Bowl loss, I got a bit of hate from some of the faithful. So, not advocating anybody hates on that man, but you can see how happy he is. Please do send him a message, a congratulatory message.
I did notice in the preview photo to this pod, in that photo where Nadji's handing you that trophy, Paul, it does look like Lee's just lurking in the background, almost like he knows what's going to happen. He had his eye on that trophy from last season. You can see it.
Kev,
that is good, some good Photoshop work by me. Unfortunately, I missed the fact that there's a big hand in the corner of the flag, and it does look as though it's my hand because of the way the thumbnail is. But it looks as though my hand is massive.
When he sent me the thumbnail at work today, Kev, I was bad laughing because, to be honest, I knew it was photoshopped, but you're right, he probably was looking for that trophy because it was so close last year. And when I knew
he was angry at one point. I remember Lee getting a little bit pink in the face when he realised he wasn't going to win it. So,
Martin Hughes.
Remember that? If you remember what it was like last year at the Super Bowl, I'd had a lot to drink.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know what?
Actually, you're right. It was all to play for. I think the points were close enough that any one of the four of us could have snatched it on Super Bowl night, couldn't we?
Yeah. I mean, this year
2 points separated first to last.
Now that's the dirtiest of points, I think.
Not 13 points like this year.
Yeah, there's some dirty points. All I was going to say, Kev, was he deserves his victory. I am going to say congratulations. But when the season was going the way it was going, I couldn't bring myself to... I went to Disneyland Paris with the girls and I have a Star Wars villain era t-shirt and I was going to unveil my villain era to get some dirty points back. But then I decided, Kev, it wasn't worth it. I decided to go down fighting and Gareth, my good friend, supported me in that decision. But Lee thought, sod that. I want the trophy. I want the win. Look at that face.
I have done a little bit of something here to reward your faith, Paul, in that I look back on the season, and if we looked at how poor we were in the red zone, imagine if we were just one touchdown better in some of those games. So I went back and I rescored the games. Any game that we were in one touchdown of, I gave us an extra touchdown. Let's just imagine that happened. And you would have come out on top. You would have got 95 points.
Let's not imagine that.
Lee would have got 94. Anthony Folger still would have demolished us all. Obviously, there's lots of nuances in there if that was in other games. But if we'd have just turned some of those victories over, you would have been way ahead. But your faithfulness was your downfall.
I win the moral high ground. You mentioned
you
Anthony. He does have to have his props because he won the Pride. There's no trophy, I'm afraid, Anthony. But if you would like to purchase a trophy, just hit Lee Gowland up because he's got many a link saved. He'll show you where to go. But Anthony, congratulations. I'm safe to say we will be doing this again next year, Gareth. We'll be doing the Awesome Foursome competition.
I think so. I don't think people will let us drop it now. And why should we? We didn't do it this year. We had the same points scoring system as we did in the previous year, and I think we talked about whether that might be something to do with the tweak, because we felt that there was a couple of times, is 5 getting the win right, and then 3 is quite close. Maybe should we do a bit more for the win, or should we do, if you get within say 1 or 2 points, should that get you 3? And if you're within 4 or 5 points, should that get you some? And maybe something, because we do find out, I think, that a lot of us predict quite closely, and I think we end up with the scores being quite close, which is a good thing. But it's, if anyone's got any ideas, I think we'd all be all ears to see whether we could improve it.
You poo-pooed it.
So, to be fair, Martin,
Yeah, but that sounded really complex and annoying.
No, it's not. It's not.
I think, Lee,
You just add 1 point per consecutive victory for the 49ers, and then add that to the win total of a dirty points win.
Fair enough.
So Martin has added. Now, to be fair, Lee, I'm surprised you haven't reached out to Fireball and seen whether they could sponsor a trophy. Now, Anthony's put he's happy with just the pride. I'm sure someone will sort your Fireball out at the next meetup. But Jamie Burgess,
Super Bowl
you've been
meetup.
given a challenge there. You need to make Lee a winner's sash, which he probably hasn't ordered. But Kev, we will be doing the playoff predictor league, which is going to be the same format, isn't it? Now, we are going to jump onto yours. So the Awesome Foursome aren't having our own one. We're just going to jump in with everybody else's. Is that right, chaps?
It is. I've stuck my predictions in.
Yeah, it's there for you to fill in already. Got 2 games this week.
All right.
Yeah, so the if you head over to the Predictor League chat, or you head onto Facebook, there's a form that I've put out there today, well, maybe yesterday actually. So we're predicting the Ravens Steelers and the Packers Eagles as well. So I'll kind of treat them as like separate weeks almost, but we'll be predicting an NFC and an AFC, obviously all the way through to the Super Bowl, and we'll have an extra winner. So there's your chance to get another ring, Lee. You should only be wearing 1 so far. Maybe you can add 2 at the end of the Super Bowl.
I mean,
well, you see, the reason I had 3 on is because it was such an arse kicking for the defending champion. It deserved 3 wins.
I mean, to be fair, Kev, I was the first ever fantasy football double champion, and I didn't act like this. And when I won the trophy last year, I was very graceful with my competitors.
So you didn't deserve to win it.
Now, I will say, for those people who haven't caught the pod on Monday, the reason those games have been selected is the Wheel of Positivity, isn't it, Gareth? That's Nadji's baby.
It was.
So every week with the playoff games, what will happen is on the pod, we'll put in on the games and we'll do the Wheel of Positivity. So, yeah, Kev, it's great that you do the work for that. I know you shared them on Facebook, shared them on Discord. Anybody unsure where to get the link, hit any of us up on our DMs. Is there anything else for us to say on the Predictor League, Lee?
I was just going to say we should find it on Facebook and pin it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So people can find it during the week. So,
yeah,
it's a good idea. Yeah, and I think that if people do want to join Discord as well, I mention it every time I post about it, but if people want help, if they're not sure about it, I know we were chatting backstage before, and Paul, weren't sure about the move over. It is a really, really good place to chat 49ers. It's a really good, positive place.
It's a lot more organised, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You do get the wall in Facebook can get a bit cluttered sometimes, but I still think Facebook's a really valuable place for the community. Definitely. I think if anything, you get involved in the game day threads, they're kind of invaluable over in Discord.
Yeah, we've always said that Discord wasn't going to take over Facebook, but I was saying to Kevley, my initial thought of Discord is what the flag football team used to communicate. So when Nadji first proposed Discord, I wasn't sure how it would work, but like you said, Gareth, it's a bit more organised. I mean, I didn't get involved straight away because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. And I know you and Nadji have taken the brunt of the work, but behind the scenes, especially the game day threads, I've got more and more involved, and we've tried to spend that positive vibe on the game day thread whilst letting people have their emotions, and it's worked well. But Discord definitely isn't replacing Facebook. So for those people who are unsure, what I have started to do, Kev, is when I switch the wall off on game day, I put the link to the Discord group. So I don't know whether we've had many people come across, because a few people seemed unhappily that we were switching the wall off and we were directing people to Discord. But it was just easy for us as admin. We didn't have to keep an eye on the Facebook page when we're trying to watch the game with everybody else.
Yeah, and I kind of made the point why we did that, because the game day thread on Facebook had basically become a non-starter once we did move to Discord, and Discord was just so much better anyway. As far as it replacing Facebook, never say never, because the way Facebook is going, it's just impossible to find anything in there, even your own posts. It's impossible to find them. They started out using tags, so you could use tags to find stuff, and that's what I did. I started tagging everything, if it's merch, if it's a game day thread, if it's a meetup, and they've kind of stopped using them in that the same way as they used to, because it used to be group specific. Now it's just all global. So if I put in merch as a tag, it's not going to show us all the merch in 49 or 50 UK. It's just going to show us anything tagged merch. It's ridiculous. And the fact that they've started to alter the way they use, or the way they moderate Facebook, then yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. We might end up going to Discord one day.
Fair enough.
And I'm finding Discord to be a lot better, because when I first came across, I struggled with it a little bit. But no, I enjoy Discord now.
So I would say, Martin, if you're on a stream that's a minute or two behind, Kev has put some good rules in that when the game kicks off, everybody writes where they're at, like kick off. And I have found sometimes if people are ahead to dip out, but the game day thread, like you were saying, Kev, Facebook was where I first discovered the group, and I used to love the game day thread. Then Facebook changed the algorithm, it was all over. But you don't have to just use Discord for the game day thread. Like Lee said there, there's a lot of chat going on. We've gone live tonight, and my phone's lit up. I can just see notifications.
There's plenty coming through.
So welcome to my world, Kev. Being an admin on Discord, you have to keep an eye on it. Just when you think there's going to be a blank space and there's going to be nothing to talk about, the Niners go and fire some coaches, release some players. And is there any final thoughts, chaps? Because I'm conscious we've hit the hour mark, and I don't want to keep people too much longer. But I'll come over to Gareth first. Have you got any final thoughts on anything we've talked about tonight, Gareth?
No. Well done, Lee. Well done, Anthony. We haven't really talked too much, perhaps, about special teams, but that's good. Let's see what happens. I think most of us we had our disappointment several weeks ago, because I think we knew we were done. It's not like we've had the chance of making the playoffs all the way through to week 18 and suddenly everybody's flat. I think we've all been able to go through that little bit of mourning period, and things are looking bright. And I'm pleased with today's announcements. It just just sullied slightly, knowing Lee's going to gloat for a full 12 months.
Lee,
but well
any
done,
final
Lee.
thoughts, buddy?
So Gareth just nailed it with that last thing he said. Not me gloating for 12 months, but the fact that so early into what is our off season, we've had such good news that we're already excited about next season. The fact that we now have a dedicated OC, the fact that we've getting rid of the two positions, or the two people occupying the positions that have basically caused us so much heartache this year. So it's looking good already. Obviously, the news that's come out about certain players, Yvonne Hargrave, to be honest, that was a little bit old news. When he restructured his contract, they actually said at the time, we're going to release him post-June, but we want to bring him back. But it all depends on whether or not they can work it out as far as the money's concerned. So that was interesting, because I think he's a decent player. As Gareth said, he's just not worth the money that we're paying him. So that was good that we've done that. The fact that they've turned around and said, look, Greenlaw, we haven't even discussed it with him yet. There's a possibility he might be back. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that works. And then obviously what Brock has said as well after the end of the season, I want to get this done as soon as possible because I don't want to miss any time. Everything that's been said in the past 7 days has given us renewed hope for next season. I mean, we should be feeling fairly low at the moment after the absolute dumpster fire of the season that we've just had. But then to have all this news come out, it just renews that optimism. And next season, I mean, I'm already saying it, 20-0, baby. Win the Super Bowl at Levi's.
If we go 20-0 and win the Super Bowl, you can go back to back. But Kev, is there any final thoughts from you, buddy, on your first appearance with us?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the invite. Appreciate it. It feels a bit weird seeing me here in like where Nadji would usually be. But he's threatened to steal my card enough times that I've stolen his spot on the show. So good luck getting it back, Nadji. So thank you for having me. I think just to echo Lee's thoughts there is that last season, after that Super Bowl loss, I just checked out of football. I didn't want anything to do with it until the season kicked off again. All the contract negotiations, I ignored it. Whereas this season, based on how poorly we've done, strangely, I'm actually more excited about next season than anything else. Obviously, the changes made today make for good reading, but I'm just looking forward to enjoying the playoffs, watching them as an NFL fan, enjoying a Super Bowl party where I can just enjoy being around people and friends and enjoy just having a few drinks and not have any pressure on the line, and then rolling into an off season, which hopefully we can get Brock signed early, get Kittle signed, see where the other ones go. But I think it's all positivity from here, and it must be written in the stars that we're going to win the Super Bowl at Levi. Surely that's
gotta be.
That's on the cards.
The script.
And just a reminder for everyone, we had actually talked about having a meetup in San Francisco for the Super Bowl.
Well, don't get ahead of yourself.
Obviously, not necessarily at the game.
Yeah, I was going to say
being out in San Francisco.
You've got a Super Bowl party this year to promote, but Kev, there's a reason we didn't give your exact location out, because Nadji has threatened in public to steal that wonderful Patrick Willis card of yours. But honestly, I just want to say, Lee, Gareth, Kev, thanks for joining me tonight. I've had a blast as always. As you have all said, we are now in full off-season mode, or to Lee, mock draft mode, and I think he's already done 100 this year. It's only the 8th day of the year.
Getting very close to 100. Yeah.
I will say, keep those notifications switched on. As I've said, there's always lots to talk about these 49ers. We've had an hour and 10 minutes tonight, Gareth. We could have another an hour and 10 minutes. We will be back with the podcast, with the live shows. We're not going anywhere. We're not taking a break. But the days and times may change, so do keep on those notifications. We do appreciate those people who have subscribed. Please do drop a like, a comment, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. And Lee, Super Bowl venue has been released, I believe. People are allowed to...
It has, yes. So it's Pins Social Club in Liverpool. They reached out to us at the start of the season, believe it or not. Not long after the watch party, the official watch party, to say, look, if you ever want to come to Liverpool, you can use our venue. Martin, who's on the screen there, Martin's gone around and had a look, and he says it's a decent place. And I've seen a few comments from people once they found out it's Pins to say, yeah, it's a good venue. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just waiting for them to get back to me to find out whether or not we have to pay a deposit, or whether or not it's just a case of I will tell them how many's coming and they will reserve us places.
So head over to the Facebook page if you can, to the group event page, and obviously let Lee know if you're going. I'm like you, Kev. I'm going to a local event, so I'll be rocking my Niners gear. So if you do turn up at a Super Bowl party, you see a fellow Niners fan, do go over, say hello. Sarah is putting together a map across the UK of where different people are going, because some people might not be able to make Liverpool. But all that is left for me to say is thank you for watching, and go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, nine
Go
again.
Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, Deep Clark, Garrison Hurst.